After a washout on day 4, day 5 seemed like formality, and formality it was for England, at the end of which they had broad smiles on their faces, pun intended, while the long West Indies faces stared blankly. This is how England reclaimed the Wisden Trophy. Broad gets to 500 test wickets. The West Indies batting falters as Woakes bags a fifer. Day 4 of the third test between England and the West Indies in Manchester saw no play. That is why all eyes were on day 5. A lot of things were at stake. Stuart Broad was 1 wicket away from 500 test wickets. West Indies, if they could draw this game, they would go on to retain the Wisden Trophy 2020, and England just had to bowl the West Indies out. And that is why on the morning of day 5, the attention was immense. Stuart Broad and James Anderson started the proceedings for England and put both Craig Brathwaite and Shai Hope under pressure right from the word go, and one of them had to relent at some point. As Craig Brathwaite relented, Stuart Broad notched up his 500th test wicket, only the 4th pacer ever to pick 500 test wickets, a feat that'll go down in history. The clouds though did seem like they were going to interrupt the English party. There were frequent interruptions in play within the first session, but there was some play as well, and that is why it got tougher for the West Indies' batsmen, because they had to go off and then come back in again. It showed on their concentration. Shai Hope, 45 minutes before lunch, tried to pull one wide and short of Woakes, skied it straight to Stuart Broad. He was gone. West Indies 4 down. Shamara Brooks did seem like stitching a partnership with Roston Chase, but then Woakes got him too. West Indies 5 down before a rain interruption came. A rain interruption meant an early lunch. West Indies going to lunch 5 down with their eyes on the skies, hoping for the rain to continue, but it didn't. On the other side of lunch, the English bowlers were bowling with their tails up, although there were contributions from the West Indies' batsmen too. Roston Chase got off to a single where there was none. He was out, run out by Dom Bess, a straight throw on the wickets, and it was all a downslide from there. Holder gone, Blackwood gone. None of the batsmen survived the fury of English bowlers. Chris Woakes bagging his 4th fifer in Test cricket. Stuart Broad getting 4 in the innings, 10 in the game, his 3rd best figures in Test match cricket ever. West Indies going down by a massive 269 runs at Old Trafford, conceding defeat to England, who win the series 2-1. Now you can pinpoint a lot of things in this series and say this went wrong for the West Indies, like Jason Holder's decision to bowl first in both the tests at Old Trafford, a ground that is famous for its flat tracks and batting friendly conditions. Or you can just look around and say that after being pushed against the wall, England did not give West Indies an inch in the next 2 tests, and they were definitely the better side and a more deserving one. Either way, it's an England win in Manchester, 2 on the trot, that gives them the trophy, brings it home for them. The Wisden Trophy 2020 is England's by 2-1. And while there's been a lot of talk around how Ben Stokes' all-round contributions make him a great and make England win games, the real showstopper has been Stuart Broad, who was dropped in the first test, came back in the second, and hasn't looked back ever since. I'm sure he has made a mark in this series and has surely raised question marks on England's selection in the first test. Going forward, Stuart Broad will be very hard to drop, as England next play Pakistan, where we will bring you all the stories from every day of Test cricket played in that series, right here in our match story.